We all want to believe that the people we love have our best interests at heart. We look past the red flags, we excuse the strange moods, and we tell ourselves that we're just being paranoid. But sometimes, love isn't just blind, it's dangerous. Tonight we are diving into 3 terrifying real-life accounts of toxic relationships that cross the line from unhealthy to downright psychological warfare. From partners who use love as a weapon to significant others who aren't at all who they claim to be. These stories will make you question how well you truly know the person sleeping right next to you. Grab your headphones, lock your doors, and settle in. You won't want to miss a single second of this. Here is our first story. I met David in college. To everyone else, he was the golden boy, charismatic, ambitious, and fiercely protective of me. At 21, I thought protective meant love. I didn't realize it was the first brick in a prison wall. It started small. I'd come home from a coffee hangout with my best friend Sarah, and David would be sitting on the couch in the dark. "How was Sarah?" he'd ask, his voice completely flat. "Good. We just caught up," I'd reply. Then came the twist. "Funny, because I drove past the cafe around 3, and I didn't see your car. Who were you really with, Maya?" I was stunned. "David, my car was parked around the corner, and we were there until 4. He would just shake his head, wearing this look of profound, agonizing pity. "Maya, you're doing that thing again. You're getting confused. You forget things. I just wish you could be honest with me." That was his favorite phrase. You're getting confused. Over the next 2 years, David slowly, systematically erased my reality. If we got into an argument because he screamed at me in public, he would swear up and down the next morning that I had thrown a tantrum and embarrassed him. He said my memory was failing. He suggested, with tears in his eyes, that I might be suffering from early-onset psychological issues, just like my aunt. He was so gentle, so deeply concerned for my mental health, that I actually believed him. I started keeping a secret journal in my phone, just to prove to myself that I wasn't losing my mind. I wrote down dates, times, and exactly what was said. One night, we were supposed to go to my company dinner. It was a huge promotion for me. I dressed up, waited in the living room, and waited. David finally walked through the door 3 hours late, smelling like wood smoke and beer. When I broke down crying, asking where he had been, he looked at me blankly. "What are you talking about? The dinner is tomorrow, Maya." "No," I screamed, my hands shaking. "It's tonight. Look at the calendar." He sighed, walked over to the kitchen calendar and pointed. There, in my own handwriting, it said, "Company dinner, on the date for tomorrow." I felt the ground drop out from under me. I fell to my knees, sobbing, apologizing over and over again for being so crazy, for ruining everything. He held me tightly, whispering that it was okay, that he would always take care of his broken girl. It took me 3 days to realize something. I never write on the kitchen calendar. I only use my phone. With a racing heart, I opened my phone calendar. There it was, company dinner, tonight. Then I opened my hidden journal. I looked through my old entries, and that's when I noticed a pattern. The journal entries from the nights we fought, the wording felt off. It wasn't how I typed. David had found my passcode. He had been logging into my phone while I slept, rewriting my digital journal entries, and altering my calendar events to match his lies. He had even practiced mimicking my handwriting to alter the kitchen calendar. He wasn't trying to help me. He was actively trying to drive me insane, so I would never leave him. I didn't confront him. I knew if I did, he'd find a way to spin it. Instead, I waited until he went on a weekend fishing trip. I packed everything I owned into a rented U-Haul, blocked his number, changed my passcodes, and moved 3 states away to live with my parents. It's been 3 years, and I still double-check the date on 3 different devices every single day. The bruises from a toxic relationship aren't always black and blue. Sometimes they're inside your own head. It's terrifying how easily someone can weaponize your own mind against you. Maya escaped, but many people don't see the trap until it's completely snapped shut. Our next story takes us into the world of digital isolation, where a partner's obsession turns a smartphone into a tracking device. Keep watching. This next one gets incredibly intense. Liam and I had been dating for 6 months when he gave me a brand new iPhone for my birthday. My old phone was cracked and slow, so I was ecstatic. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "Now I never have to worry about you not being able to reach me." At first it was sweet, but within weeks, the phone felt less like a gift and more like an electronic ankle monitor. If I didn't reply to a text within 5 minutes, Liam would call. If I didn't answer, he'd call my workplace. He claimed it was just his severe anxiety and that he dropped everything to answer me, so I should do the same for him. Out of guilt, I kept my phone glued to my hand. Then the coincidences started happening. I went out for a casual lunch with a male coworker to discuss a project. We chose a small diner on the edge of town. 10 minutes after we sat down, Liam walked in. He acted surprised, said he was just grabbing takeout, but he stared daggers at my coworker the entire time. A week later, I told Liam I was staying late at the library to study. I changed my mind last minute and went to a coffee shop instead. Within 20 minutes, Liam texts me, "How's the coffee at Grindhouse? Thought you were at the library." I froze. I looked around the coffee shop. He wasn't there. "How did you know I was here?" I typed back. "I saw your friend's Instagram story," he replied instantly. Except my friend hadn't posted anything. I checked. I started getting paranoid. I checked my phone for sharing my location on Find My Friends, but it was turned off. I checked Snapchat maps. Ghost mode was on. I thought maybe I was just letting my imagination run wild. The breaking point came on a Saturday. I told Liam I was spending the day at my mom's house. Halfway there, my mom called and said she had to run an urgent errand, so our plans were canceled. I decided to take a detour and go to a local nature park to walk and clear my head. It was a secluded spot, miles away from our usual hangouts. I parked my car, walked down a trail, and sat on a bench overlooking a lake. It was peaceful. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Liam. "The lake looks nice today. Why did you lie to me about being at your mom's? Who are you meeting there?" My blood turned to ice. I whipped my head around. The trail was completely empty. There were no trees close enough for someone to hide behind and see what I was looking at. I looked down at the phone in my hand. The phone he gave me. I sprinted back to my car, locking the doors. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. Instead of going home, I drove straight to a tech repair shop. I handed the phone to the guy behind the counter and said, "Please, tell me if there is tracking software on this." The technician took it into the back. 20 minutes later, he came out looking deeply uncomfortable. "Miss," he said quietly, "your phone has a highly sophisticated, hidden stalkerware app installed at the root level. It doesn't just track your GPS. It allows someone to remotely turn on your microphone, access your front and back cameras, and read every keystroke you type in real time. Whoever put this on here has been watching and listening to everything you do." He had been looking through my eyes, listening to my conversations. I felt physically sick. I told the technician to factory reset the phone and destroy the SIM card. I bought a cheap prepaid flip phone, drove straight to the police station, and filed for a restraining order. When Liam realized he lost his digital leash, he showed up at my apartment, screaming and pounding on the door. But this time, I didn't feel guilty. The police arrested him for violating the temporary order that very night. To this day, I keep a piece of black tape over my phone's camera. True toxicity wears many masks. Sometimes it's the anxious, overprotective boyfriend. Other times, it's a slow, calculated takeover of your entire life until you don't even recognize your own home. Our final story features a user who realized that their partner's quirks were actually a terrifying blueprint for total control. When Clara moved into my apartment, she brought an air of perfection with her. She was a designer. Everything had to be aesthetically pleasing, organized, and immaculate. I admired it at first. My bachelor pad suddenly looked like a magazine spread. But within months, the aesthetic became a set of rules. Rules that only applied to me. "Hey, babe," Clara said one evening, pointing at the kitchen counter. "Can we not leave the keys there? It ruins the visual flow of the entryway. Put them in a ceramic bowl in the hallway." "Sure, no problem," I smiled. The next week, it was the coffee mugs. "We can't use the blue mugs anymore. They clash with the new kitchen tiles." I donated them. They were mugs my sister had made for me, but Clara promised to buy better ones. Slowly, the rules mutated. It wasn't just about objects anymore. It was about me. "Are you really gonna wear that shirt out?" she'd ask, looking at me with absolute disgust. "It makes you look so sloppy. People are gonna think I have no standards." If I laughed too loudly at a restaurant, she would pinch my arm under the table. "Stop it. You're making a scene. Act like an adult." I found myself walking on eggshells in my own home. I stopped inviting my friends over, because Clara would spend hours before they arrived, critiquing everything from the snacks I bought to the way I sat on the couch. If a single thing wasn't up to her standard, she would give me the silent treatment for days. The silence was the worst part. She would look right through me as if I didn't exist. I would beg for her forgiveness, buying her flowers, cleaning the entire house top to bottom, just to hear her speak to me again. I became obsessed with making everything perfect just to keep the peace. The climax happened on my birthday. My friends had planned a surprise gathering at a local sports bar. It wasn't Clara's style at all. It was loud, crowded, and sticky. I could see the muscles in her jaw clenching the moment we walked in. I tried to balance making her comfortable while enjoying my night, but it was impossible. At one point, my best friend handed me a beer, and in my excitement, I bumped into a table, spilling a few drops on Clara's pristine white designer shoes. The venue went quiet in my mind as I saw her face. It wasn't anger, it was pure, unadulterated malice. She didn't yell, she just leaned in close and whispered, "You are a clumsy, pathetic embarrassment. I am leaving. If you aren't home in 20 minutes, don't bother coming back at all." She walked out. My friends asked what was wrong, but the panic completely took over. I abandoned my own birthday party, ran out to a cab, and rushed home. When I unlocked the apartment door, the place was completely dark. I walked into the bedroom. Clara was sitting on the bed, fully dressed, packing a suitcase. "Clara, I'm so sorry," I pleaded. "It was an accident, I swear." She stood up, looking down her nose at me. "I'm leaving you, but not because of the shoes. Because you're a project that refuses to be fixed. I tried to give you class. I tried to make you someone respectable. But you're just a bottom-tier loser, and you always will be." She walked past me, dragging her suitcase. As the front door clicked shut, I sank onto the floor. But I didn't cry. For the first time in 2 years, I looked around my apartment. I looked at the minimalist furniture, the muted colors, the lack of any personal items that belonged to me. It wasn't a home. It was a showroom where I was a trespasser. Suddenly, a wave of intense relief washed over me. The next morning, I went to the storage unit, brought back my old mismatched blue mugs, and put my keys right on the kitchen counter. I was messy, I was loud, and I was finally free. It's easy to judge from the outside and ask, why didn't they just leave? But as we saw tonight, toxic relationships don't start with screaming and control. They start with small compromises, subtle manipulation, and gifts that turn into tethers. They build the prison slowly, one brick at a time, until you forget what the outside world even looks like. If you're watching this right now, and something in these stories felt a little too familiar, please trust your gut. Your reality is real, your boundaries matter, and you deserve to feel safe in your own life. Which of these stories hit you the hardest? Have you ever had to escape a situation like this? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you want to support the channel and hear more real-life stories every week, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you for listening tonight. Stay safe out there.